Hey, I'm Coach Myson Jones with Hoops University, and I am a player development coach in the Upstate, and I also am making this video because I want to speak to players and to officials and to see that both are understanding and make sure we all continue to grow the game in the Upstate of South Carolina. And I want there to be understanding and reasonability on both sides. Players, we are working on new-ish footwork that is legal according to the rule book. Officials, I want the officials to also note that everything that is not a 1-2 is not a travel. And at the same time, every new thing that you see is not legal from the players as well. So there is a common ground here. Officials can benefit from reading the rule book and refreshing themselves if they have already read the rule book. And players can also read the rule book as well to make sure that we're practicing legal footwork. So I want to go over a few of the footworks that we're working on right now. Welcome your comments, welcome your DMs, but just to show you what the game is doing, what we're evolving to, and what I believe, based on my interpretation of the game, is legal, and also want to get your input on that as well. So players, we have to make sure we're practicing legal footwork. Not everything you see in the league is also legal in South Carolina High School League rules. And officials, again, just because it's not what our pattern recognition has recognized in the past doesn't mean that it's illegal or that it's a travel. The first one is this. A lot of athletes are starting to take slow 1-2s. So they're doing the typical footwork. Now, obviously a travel is not about how many steps you take always. It's about when the pivot foot's established. So if I were the one to take the same steps, left, left, right, left, that's legal, right? But if I pick the ball up too early and establish a pivot foot here, left, right, left, that's a travel. Now, some will say that's not a travel, and it's also the footwork for those low pickups. So often there are low pickups to try to get through traffic here, which do not get called, and I'm cool with it not being called. At the same time, it is illegal. So if pivot foot's established, it picks up, it lands again, that is therefore illegal. Now, what I'm seeing happen more often is the legal footwork is being turned into slower steps. They're changing speeds on some of these steps. So they're getting here, stepping through, and laying it up, which it is unorthodox. It looks illegal, but it's not. So players, if you can continue to work on your layups, the correct footwork, getting it down traditionally, basic, and then start to change speeds on it and not airball shots, that is something that's also worth practicing as well. So what I would do, I would go and work on the same basic footwork. So right, left, right, making that layup, traditional footwork for a left-hand layup. Then I would try to change speed. So I'll get here, slow, and then go into a layup. Now again, it may seem like a travel, but it's the same thing at a different speed. So that's one, the slow 1-2. So the next one is this Pinoy fake, which is honestly the same footwork. Instead of hanging out on this foot and then stepping, establishing the pivot and picking it up. Again, it's not landing before there's an action, but the Pinoy is when the athletes are picking it up on this step and showing the basketball and taking that last step. So technically it's still 3 steps. It's just the awkwardness of that ball being faked right there that really throws people off and throws them off just as much as me missing a right-hand layup right there, trying to teach you guys advanced footwork. Not as advanced as my guy Milton, MDW, but same thing. We're getting here, picking it up, showing the basketball, and then taking the last step, which again is unorthodox, but it's legal. It's legal. It's the same footwork as left, right, left. We're just showing the ball, shot faking on that step there. So again, that's one, the slow 1-2, the Pinoy fake, and there are a few others that you'll see that I don't think are travels, but that you will have to recognize that aren't travels as well as officials. So this one is the low pickup. This one I believe is the most common one that is a travel, but is not called a travel. So you'll see players try to split through 2 defenders, and they'll get here and pick the ball up low and then go into a layup. You'll see trainers working on that too, which if you can get away with it, why not work on that? But here's the issue. Pivot foot's established here. You pick it up and it lands again without an action. That is the rule book definition of a travel right now for high school league rules. So to make this legal, legalize it, we get here, pick it up, and then lay it up on that ball side foot, that foot that's on the same side as the ball. which is a lot harder to do. But I don't see this one getting called that often, honestly. Maybe it's just fall league, maybe it's just AAU. We'll see if it gets called in actual season play. But again, this is a travel, but you'll see it so often. So I believe the low pickup is one that is a hack for athletes to continue using, to not get called a travel for, just like a spin move is. So technically, a spin move is often a travel too, as we do this, because we're establishing the pivot foot early here on this left foot or even the right foot. We're spinning, picking it up and landing again. But it's done so quickly that I'm sure most officials can't see that. So if I want to make this legal, I would have to pick the ball up on that left foot step, which obviously exposes the ball slightly more, but pick that ball up on the left foot step, and then this is my pivot foot. I'm allowed to pivot here and finish on that last step. But I don't even think it needs to be broken down that much, because often these moves are not called travels depending on the official, obviously. So that's one to also watch out for, and I'm curious to see which officials call that one, which ones don't. Suffice to say, long story longer, I'm willing to officiate. So if anybody has opportunities or a need for an official, I would love to go officiate and practice what I'm preaching and see how the game is evolving and try to help to grow the game in the upstate.